guys, welcome back to another episode of Life with Me. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the second step that you can actually do after you collect the house keys, and that is the defects check, right? So in this defects check, after you collect the keys, you go through your whole unit and then actually pick up some of the things that you find that is defective, so that you can actually highlight this to the BSC, and they will send in someone to rectify those defects for you. Yeah, coming to the earlier point, what is BSC? BSC is actually the Building Service Center. So this BSC, in every new BTO unit, there will be someone that's actually assigned for this, and then they will actually be the ones that are in charge and they will help you out with the whole verification process.
So very important, right, that you do this BSC before your renovation. Okay, so it's more like a warranty, right? You do not want your contractor or your ID to come and they hack the wall and then because they will do the BSC and if they claim for any kind of warranty, and HDB will basically say that okay, you do the renovation before the defects check, so they're not going to be liable of any damages. Yeah.
For the defects check wise, the first step that you have to do would be to actually book an appointment on the BSC website. So when you go into your new unit, there should be a QR code pasted somewhere in your unit, maybe in the kitchen, right? And then you can actually scan the QR code, log into the website, and do the booking.
Right. It's not like something that you can advance book. Because we thought that we can advance book for that, but if it doesn't work like this, I think you will collect the key first, be registered as a registered owner, then you can do the defects check.
Yeah. Why Mandy is saying this is because when we first log into the website to do a booking, the earliest date you can get is actually 2 weeks. So within this 2 weeks, we cannot do any renovation works at all. And then judging by how after they come over and they need to do some rectification works, right? That should be another 1 to 2 weeks also. Right? So in total, like 1 whole month, you can't do any renovation works at all if you have to do any of the rectification works.
So I would suggest that in 2 weeks of meeting right before your BSC check, you use this time to do a quality defect check. Then after that also finalize on designs and colors, furniture, public. Use that 2 weeks for that. And within these 2 weeks, you can actually also hire your own professional defects checker. If not, you can actually be like us, we do a DIY on our own. So we are going to walk you through the process today.
As Manny mentioned, we're actually going to do a defect check on our own. One of the things that you can consider whether you want to go for a professional defect checker or to actually do is to actually first run through your whole unit. There are checklists available online. We can link some below. You can actually go to the website and take a look of some of the common things that you have to do in the defects check. You want to do it. So if you actually run through those checklists and you feel that it's not too much work or not too many major defects in the home, then I guess it's wise for you to maybe proceed on with the DIY method. So moving on. So the first things that we're going to talk about right now is the things that you have to bring or prepare for the defects check. As you can see, what we're sitting on right now is the first thing that you have to bring. Although it's not a must, but then again, when you come to your unit, there's no place to sit around. So you'll be walking around and then it can be quite tiring. You need to put your stuff on somewhere, right? So definitely bring a stool, right, to sit down. Okay, now moving to things proper. Second thing, as you can see from our frame, would be the actual pail itself, right? So why do you need a pail? The pail here is actually for you to pour water on kitchen tiles and toilet tiles to actually check for the waterproofing of the floor. So whether it's evenness and whether it actually seeps through to the drainage pipe. Right? So this pail is very important. Right? Next, you have to bring is a bicycle lock. So I think for this one, either your ID or your contractor, whoever you want to go for, they might actually provide you a bicycle lock. So this is actually important for you to actually lock the door to your gate lock. So to prevent anyone from coming in. And also why important for the BSC check is because you need to pass them a code for this so that they can actually enter your unit to do the verification works. Right?
Pass them the key.
Yeah, do not give them the key because it's quite dangerous as well. Anyone can take your keys and duplicate them, right? So a bicycle lock is definitely a must for you to actually lock your. It can be a padlock or anything that you can just easily pass with the BSC. Do not pass them your keys, right? Okay. Moving on to the next item. What do we have?
We have the marker and the basket. Marker and basket. Yes, these are very important, right? Because basically, like when you go around the house, right, then you need to label down where the defects are, or things that you don't have. So this will come in very handy, right? And then we have the measuring tapes. So measuring tapes is basically for you to measure like the dimensions. So if you have furniture or if you have any carpentry work, this will definitely helps, right?
Yeah, in your 2 weeks of waiting for the BSC guy to come, you can actually take some measurements and plan for your own nature and home layout, right? Okay, moving on to the next item. Yeah. Okay, so you need to bring a wall adapter or something that you can actually plug into the walls to check for the electricity. So once you turn on the DB box or the sockets, right, then you can go to every point in your house to check for the electricity, whether there's anything that's coming through. So this is quite straightforward. Okay. Also, not a must, but you can bring a cloth or any tissue to actually do a wipe down of the areas, especially the walls. Some of the cracks are not actually cracks, but actually dirt, right, or dust. Okay, so you can actually wipe off those cracks and verify whether it's an actual crack or not. Okay. The next thing that you might want to bring is actually a ladder or actually a stool that you can actually step on and reach onto the higher areas where you can't really access. Oh, one more thing, mobile phone. Why mobile phone is for you to actually note down, take pictures and maybe videos of some of the defects that you want to run through. So that on that day when the BSC contractor comes over, you can actually go through their defects. Yes, sorry. Very small, that's why I missed it out, but you can actually bring a coin to do any checks for hollow tiles. So you actually knock them on the wall tiles itself, you actually check for any hollow tiles. So this is the important thing that you can actually bring as well. Yeah, so I think that's it really. So okay, so the next we are actually going to bring you through how we actually do a defect check, and then hope it helps you. Okay guys, so to run you through some of the process, so we have the masking tape, right? So you go around the house, we've already done so for ourselves. And then you can see on the walls here, these are some of the defects that you can actually take off. Like this kind of chipping on the actual wall itself. And you can do the blue ones are from the BSC contractor, the white ones are from us. And then you can take a look at some of the ones that we marked out. Right above, you can see actually there's quite a very obvious chipping. So do a walkthrough of your house, and after that do some markouts of the areas, right? So for example, this one we actually pasted, this is actually a camera center, we're going to take this now. Okay, so these are some of the things that you can actually use the masking tape for. So walls really covered some. So doors, some of the defects that you can see over here on this. You can actually see that this one actually here is coming out. So they need to fix this one. And then below there are some very obvious ones, right? Like all these, right? So during the installation, something like a chip door, right? So on the base also you can actually touch, right? To actually check for some of the defects as well. So you can see this one is another very obvious one. Right? So this is actually the scratch marks, right? So it's quite obvious for this. Okay. The next step you are checking so whether your door handles and the locks are actually working. So you actually can do check whether they are working. Oh no. Right, so this was like a shock, I thought it wasn't working. Okay, so that's for the doors. I think those are very common. Check for chips around the doors, the bottom and the top of the door. So you can actually go to the top and actually right some of the marks down here, the edges. So these are things to check for doors. Okay. Moving on to the bathroom. Okay, so the same thing also for the doors, right? You have to check for any of the defects on the doors. I won't go through again too much on this because they're quite common. Okay, but come over here. Right. So this is one of the main, quite obvious ones that you can see. I don't know whether you can see what's wrong with this one. Right. But actually, this portion here is actually slanted. Right. So we actually did inform the BSC guy to actually help us adjust to make it even. Right. Because when you're actually going to do overlay of the tiles, if the pipes happen to be slanted, then it will actually affect. That means whatever I replace this with, it will actually be slanted. So it doesn't look very nice. And so these are for the toilet. Then what you can actually do for the checks would be actually to flush the toilet, right? You actually check whether the water is flowing properly. And then also see whether the refill station is working as well. Right. Okay. Then next thing that I want to highlight to you for the thing that you have to check as well is on the water pressure. Something that we need actually to get it rectified. Right? So I'll actually show you why right now. Okay. Just watch. Okay, so you see the water pressure here is very low. maybe you might think that I just flush the toilet, that's why it's like that. But actually, this is actually on full blast, right? Meaning I actually turn on the water pressure to the max, but then it's still very low. And so this is something that BSC has to get rectified as well.
Very close. Leakage.
Alright, moving on. I want to mention about the coin, right? So this is actually how you check for hollow tiles. Right? So you actually knock on all the tiles, right? So if the tiles are hollow, then you can actually hear a very obvious difference. You can actually hear that there's some emptiness behind. But for our case, the whole unit is very fine. Okay, so the next step is to actually make use of the pier. So I already filled it out with some water over here. So we're actually going to check the waterproofing and see whether the grout lines actually come divert water into the drainage pipes. Right, so I'm actually going to pour it into the toilet right now. Okay, so we just observe the flow of the water, right? So imagine something like that, right? So as you can see, all the water are actually headed towards the drainage pipes. So you can see they're all diverting on its own. So this is the thing that you need to make sure that the water is flowing in the drainage pipes. So over here you can see the water itself going into the drainage without me having to do anything. That's very important also because this check, right, in case there's any flooding that happens inside your unit, at least you know that the water is actually flowing towards the drainage pipe. Yeah, so this is something that you check as well. Similarly, you do this for the kitchen as well. So kitchen, I'll just pour like this. Sometimes you might want to wash your kitchen, right? So when I pour it like this, you can see that the water, without having to do anything, is going towards the drainage pipe. Right? So you see, this is what it means by good waterproofing. It's actually all flowing towards drainage pipe. Yeah, so this is how you know that it's good, so that in case the kitchen floods for some reason, your water will flow out without having to worry about flooding. Alright. It's quite cool stuff we're doing. Alright, okay. So I guess that's it for the water check. For electricity, you have to make sure that number one, this one, when you open up the time, right, the DB box, all these are actually flipped up. Right, you need this circuit breakers to be on, right, before you actually do for the electrical checks when you. So you do that for all the wall sockets in the house. So the next step is to actually check for the windows as well. So to make sure that all the screws here are actually all intact and there are no missing screws. Make sure they are not rusty. Also, you want to check the rubber seals along the windows to make sure that they are actually waterproof so that no water seeps into the unit as well. So that's it for the windows. So do check for all the windows around the house, right? So we've already run you through the whole defect check process about how to do the defect check on your own. The next step right now is that once the BSC contractor comes down, you can run through then your defects, and then they'll go through with you one by one to actually have those defects rectified. Right, so just to give you an update, roughly on how timeline you're expecting is about 2 weeks from the date that the BSC contractor comes to have the defects rectified. So if you take the 2 weeks initially for the booking to the rectification works, it's around 4 weeks, which is about a month, then you actually can't do any renovation works. So this is something that you have to take note of in terms of your renovation planning as well. Then yeah, you're good to go. So I guess this brings us to the end of the episode, and hope that you learn a thing or two about how to do your own defects check. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye!